Man, what's up, man? Good morning, everybody tapping in. Organic Minds Podcast, episode 20. We done made it to 20 episodes so far. We started like the month before the New Year's switch just to get everything going. I want to say good morning to everybody tapped in. We got a great conversation. We got some great topics up on the board. Let me make sure everywhere is tapped in. And that's going to be key. Give me a second. Let me make sure everywhere tapped in. Okay. If everybody watching on Facebook, give me these hearts. You see the hearts going on, or like and comment. Right. So just let me know how everybody feeling this morning. For all my smokers, wake and bake. You know what I'm saying? I don't be condoning drinking early in the morning. You know what I'm saying? But you know, people say that's biased to have advice. So, you know, clear mind. You know what I'm saying? Get that morning bake, wake you up in the morning and get you right. So I got my Scully on this morning because we know it's cold outside. So I had to go back in the day. We used to go to school, getting up out there, getting ready to go get it, but have my Scully on and be ready to get to it. So Scully weather. Shout out to all my people walking around, all of you walking around in these Scullys. Well, good morning, man. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, tapping in all the time. And we are doing a lot more. Yesterday, I did more of a personal convo than I did the show. Just to remind people that I still care on a personal level outside of just the podcast and what we doing. But this morning we got some dope topics, right? And some of the topics that we gonna be dealing with today is one is about a bounty hunter that explains how the gangs or his gang was worshiping Satan. Also, we got another one about Chopper from Making a Band exposes Diddy about everything that he feels and knows. And then also Dr. Afrika, which is another teacher about the body and healer. And you know, I'm not biased about information. So I bring information to the forefront. And it's my job to bring it to you enough for you to decipher and to decide. I tell you what I feel. But a lot of times that was like more on my podcast. I mean, more like on the morning combos. And this one, I build with you. I let y'all see the footage. I tell you how I feel on certain videos. But when we in depth in knowledge, I kind of let them play. And then I speak and chop it up about a lot of this stuff. So I just want to say good morning to everybody. We get to it and continue to be great. For everybody on Facebook, please share the video, like, comment. Everybody on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe to keep you notified for what's going on. Everybody on Instagram, good morning. You know, but we're going to get to it. So this first video is crazy. When I came across it, first thing I thought about was, I mean, if you in the streets, you know about some of this shit, especially if you know about certain gangs that was known for it. So if you come up in certain environments and just try to get an understanding, what better way to hear this but from one of the OGs they sell. So I'm gonna play this for y'all in the comments. Let me know how y'all feel about it. And good morning. You like this for the good morning,
bro. And I'm giving it to you with all honesty because that was something that I was part of my life that we were known in LA for devil worship.
Right.
Because that was a part of our code. You know, we became the devil worshipers, bro. And I'm giving it to you with all honesty because that was something that I was part of my life that in 1992, becoming the peace treaty advocate is what took me out of that element.
Real life. It ain't real life. Just ain't real life. Real life street stars. You know what time it is.
There was two brothers, and I can't think of their names right now, but they're from California, right? And they practiced devil worship back in the day. Did you know anything about that? And they were Bloods. And they grew up real good, but then they got into devil worshiping. I don't know their names off the top of my head. But you ever heard of any gangbangers praying to the devil to get, you know?
Hey, I'm gonna tell you this, and I mean this shit from the bottom of my heart, and I don't say it for no viral aspect. You asked me an honest question, and it really, from a spiritual standpoint, bro, that shit just hit me. It hit me a certain kind of way, because I'm like, how the fuck this nigga know? Right. What kind of research has he been doing?
Right. I just watch a lot of gang shit.
But bro, I was from a crew. When I got paroled out of Folsom in 1986, bro.
Right.
You're doing a joke. I got paroled out of Folsom. I got recruited in this crew, Money Mac and Murder.
Mm-hmm.
And my initiation in this crew was, if I want to come up and I wanted my own, and I wanted to be able to establish my own crew of niggas and establish my own as the leader that I was, then okay, here we go. Here go your front. We're gonna give you your bird. But you're responsible for your bird, and you're responsible for getting it to the next stage. So this when the OT game hit us in 1984, 85. But what is the OT game, Big Cap? Out of town.
Okay.
This is when we got into the whoop, doubling up our shit, taking one bird, flipping it into two, and we ship it. Feel me? Basically, you know, out of town distribution. So from that point, I was given a bird. And that bird was broke down into a cookie, which is 2 big cookies. You cook it in a binker. It breaks down into cookies. So I got a bird. Bust it down, put it in the jockey strap it around, put it on me, put my drawers on, walk straight through the airport, get on the airplane. At that time, it was safe haven to do it like that because it wasn't this high tech, dogs, none of that. TSA it was a whole different ball game. It was
September
sweet.
11th. Yeah.
It was like you literally can walk with it in your hand, you know what I mean? Until they got wind of it. And that was for at least a good 7 or 8 years, it was like that. So once I got involved from that aspect and I got into the clique, come to find out, the founder, you know, one of the leaders, which is a young cat, great cat from Anthony's Park, Miller's Gangster area. I ain't gonna utilize the name because one of my bros, he's my dog, he's rest in peace. But we were known.
If you want to learn how to edit really well from professional Hollywood editors, we're going to show you the stuff.
I mean, on a deeper level, it's super deep to think that. I mean, like he was saying, when he got down, he didn't know. It ain't like it was in the front street, but it was things that came about as they got deep in. And so it's to give you an insight to understanding the murders, the killing, the ruthlessness, right? In a certain level, because it's not rooted in, at this point, it's not really rooted in the things that it was originally rooted in. And once things take a turn for certain types of occult things and certain type of ritualistics, that's why I always say, if you pay attention from the police stations to the gangs and everything that we grew up in our communities, a lot of shit is very ritualistic. So even though we think we in the streets, we still doing occult things. You know what I'm saying? If you in still, or you doing what you're doing, and you don't realize it, that you making blood sacrifices by murders and all of this. So it's so deep that we don't realize. That's why I like to see when the older guys actually grow up and tell the truth when they looking for redemption. You know?
LA for devil worship.
Right.
Because that was a part of our code. You know, we became the devil worshippers, bro.
Right.
And I'm giving it to you with all honesty because that was something that was part of my life that in 1992, becoming the peace treaty advocate is what took me out of that element where I started trying to give my soul back to God.
Right. So that's why you said earlier you had sold your soul. Is that why you mentioned that?
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, can we dive a little deep into the?
Hey man, I fucked up, man.
Yeah, no.
Like, God damn, that's crazy.
So I want to ask this, and the reason I'm asking this is for people of young ages. You know, your mind can be influenced. You know, I have a son that's he just turned 20, and I could just see his mind get influenced by just certain things, right? And so if you're practicing devil worshiping,
I mean, it's so real to see his reaction just now. It was like, it's a difference between somebody that really feel bad about a decision they make, or somebody who just don't care, or somebody that's not mindful or aware or spiritually sound to make better choices. But as we talk about, as people get older, you know what I'm saying? As people get older, as much as they've done, the things they do, you can see remorse. It manifests deeper than words. You get what I'm saying? Like, you could see it, in my opinion. And that's the thing, you know what I mean, that we tend not to really, really pay attention to or care about. And I just thought that was deep. So I didn't want to keep interrupting for a moment, but that was crazy. You can see it. I'm gonna bring it back a little bit on his.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, can we dive a little deep into the?
Hey man, I fucked up, man.
Yeah, no.
Like, God damn, that's crazy.
So I want to ask this, and the reason I'm asking this is for people of young ages. You know, your mind can be influenced. You know, I have a son that's he just turned 20, and I could just see his mind get influenced by just certain things, right? And so if you're practicing devil worshiping, what are some of the things that you would have to do when you were either talking to the devil or what did he want?
Well, basically, our ritual aspect of it was basically we'll be smoking, getting high, a couple of homies. Because one thing about me, I never smoked with no hard narcotics. I never smoked drugs. I never tooted cocaine. I didn't fuck with nothing. I smoked my weed. That was it. I never got into the drinking up until later on into my 40s.
Right. You ever fuck with the wet angel dust?
None of that shit. I didn't need none of it, but I was already volatile. My temper, I'm temperament.
Right.
I'm a fighter, trigger man, whatever you need, I'm gonna bring it.
Right.
You know what I mean? My father instilled that in me because my daddy was a war vet. So, like I said, I bought it from Kansas City, being around all my uncles and my daddy, and 4 of his brothers being from Vietnam and war veterans. So I grew up shooting at an early age, 8 years old, hunting. Right. That's why it's one of my favorite, biggest hobbies in sports right now.
Right. So the first thing you killed was like animal, like hunting and shit when you was young. Right.
So
that's why I was asking.
So
like
going back into the question of the ritual, our particular standpoint of rituals was we were just more or less suicidal. Like, give you an example. The homie say, I'm gonna just use the word G as a name. I'm gonna just use G.
Okay.
The homie G say, hey fool, you know, I just went and got my $1 million policy, fool. Cause you know, I might just die tomorrow.
Right.
You say shit like that. And something, what? But in actuality, he's serious. So now here it is. We fall in league, we going to get policies. So I went and got my policy. We had just went and bought us a 20-foot bay liner. We pieced up, went and got us a 20-foot bay liner, right? Yeah. Boat. And we had to start throwing these parties on San Pedro Harbor, where all the LA was, all the diamonds.
Do not pay somebody to build you a Shopify store because I'm going to do it free with 20 hemp.
Sitting back and listening to the culture of LA sometimes is good because if you're smart, you sit back and you listen to their stories, the things they did, the mistakes they made, the things they're not proud of, where they was at in life, what drove them to make these decisions. It's different than what you get from these rap songs and these movies, right? Because they just they blur the lines. They just show you the glitz and the glam and make it look good and make it look like, make it look fun, and then we stuck.
Beach, we throwing these big old super beach parties and shit. So we bought the boat, then we bought jet skis. So I was on my jet ski one day. We out there clowning in the water. We about 8, 9 deep. We clowning. And mind you, I just got this policy, bro. Not even 5, 6 days, I got this policy on myself. And so I'm dipping in the water. And my good smart dumb ass not realizing, hey man, you're not on pavement. This thing not gonna just stop. So when I went to dip, I tipped the nose in the water. Whoop. And the rocks to the shore, it spin like this. It took me right on up the rocks. Right. So I let the bike go. It flew off of it. The bike just blew. Pow! So here come the Coast Guards, all that. They had to come and get me. One of the homies pulled up. I jumped on his jet ski, got off the jet ski. They come get mine out the water. 3 days later, we had our main house. Once again, I jump on a motorcycle. It's one of my little homie's bikes. His bike. I tell him, hey, let me ride right quick. So I jump on his motorcycle and I cut ass coming down 132nd. I'm in Compton in Westside Park Hood. And I'm coming down 132nd and I'm finna cross Central and it's all ongoing traffic. It's a main boulevard. Right. And I go to break down and the bike ski on me, not stopping instantly. And I go straight through ongoing traffic. And a diesel and a couple of cars like just really barely missed me. And I bust down, and I came out with a quick left without hitting the fence and the gate, the wall, because that was my next stop, that wall. And I hit that left and came out of it like, and just like it was like a whole spirit came through me, like a protection that stopped me from dying right then and there instantly. Because my next impact was that wall, bro. Right. It was that wall, and once I hit that wall, if I let go of the bite, I'm damaged regardless. And I'm on a little speed motorcycle bike, you feel me? So it's like, it was all bad. I should stop. When I pulled up, they all cheering and going crazy. That's crazy. All the time I'm just looking at them going like this. Man, nigga, I just damn near died. Right. You know what I mean? And then of course, that kind of brushed off of me, and I go into my little laughter, and that shit was crazy, motherfucker. You know, that's dumb shit, man. You know what I'm saying? But that was sort of our ways of our rituals, and then, you know, just being on point as far as just knowing we didn't give a fuck.
So would you contribute? You would contribute that you're not dying because the devil practicing.
Basically, because that's our shield. It ain't at this time. It ain't God. God not protecting me. Satan is protecting me. Whatever I do, right. If a nigga shoot me right now, nigga, I'm coming back to get you, nigga. Because he got me, fool. Right. You feel me? That's why many times I didn't get shot. When I got shot at, niggas was on me trying to knock. Boom, boom, blah, blam. I'm knocking back. Boom, blah, blah, blam. We knocking. Bullets ain't hit me though. Right. I done hit plenty of niggas because I can really shoot. Right. And I creeps. I walk up on niggas. Nigga, I might walk up on you looking like an old bitch. Right. And walk right up on your bitch ass and give you what you needed, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't give a fuck. Right. That's really how volatile I was, bro. I didn't give a fuck. Right. But I thank God he took me out of that element, bro. Right. Because I wouldn't be here today, you know, to be able to be a father, raise my kids, love my firstborn grandson. Just being here, period, bro, and just having this change within you. You know, for me, even to sit here and to share this with you guys, and it's fine to be on the blue couch, man, by the way. You know, I told them niggas I was coming, boy. For me, it's different, nigga. Right. Yeah, this right. I'm right here too, this right. Yeah, but yeah, man, so it's just that no one coming from where I come from, bro, and then being on this internet and becoming, you know, what I have become in this internet world, and also having to run in my own channels and things of that nature. It's just that for me, it came with a lot of growth. Right. Because I had to take a lot of shit, well, you know? So how did you, all right, so you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna walk with you in the game. So you just don't give a fuck. You that nigga, you kill, you know, do whatever you fucking gotta do. Allegedly, right? Allegedly kill or whatever the fuck you do. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So how do you go from, you know, I'm worshiping the devil to be like, nah, God really got me? Well, you niggas cheering on Woody funny ass did it. Why I can't do it? No, I'm just saying that's a whole different category. Yeah. Throw that out there. Yeah, right. So I'm saying like, just like I'm asking. Go ahead. It damn sure is not overnight. Right. It's not overnight, fam. For me, it's not overnight. That's why I said I gave 30 years to him. Right. 30 fucking years. No, not as a dummy. I literally had to carry the red flag in my pocket for 30 straight years and gang bang. Nah, bro. I gang bang, became a D-boy, criminal organized, all type of organized structures of crimes, elements of crimes, which led me to prison systems.
You mastered your mind.
Right. My prison world, all that shit combined together, just that whole lifestyle for 30 years. 30 years in the streets until I said, you know what? Fuck this shit. Enough is enough. I ain't fucking with the streets. I ain't fucking with the hood. None of this shit no more because I did it. I gave enough. What I'm going to do, I'm going to keep doing it till I die. Right. Because that's the only element I'm going to get out of it. Or the rest of my life in prison. Once again, my integrity and intelligence kicks in. You better than that. And this, which is the spirit of my integrity and my intelligence talking to me. Are you ready to come home? Right. And because becoming a father and doing something that other gangsters ain't done, never done, and I can really say that and brag and really boast on that, nigga, how many of you niggas can say you delivered your kids, nigga, out your woman pussy? Open that shit up, come on, let's go. Right. And you delivered them. Yeah. Cut the umbilical cord, named them, head them to the doctor, nigga, and you raised them all the way to college. And they speak 3 different languages. Yeah. You feel me?
That's gangster.
That's gangster.
Right.
So those was the type of things I took myself on levels on, man, and I seen those changes and transitions. And I know the devotion that I gave to my kids, oh man, I gotta make a choice. Right. I can't live this double life, man. I can't allow this friction to split me up because A1, I got a good thing going over here where I got a set career in the entertainment field. I done established a name for myself in the entertainment field as well. Now I have these beautiful babies that God has blessed me with. God, Satan didn't give me this. He pissed off. He got me running into obstacles right now because shit is going on. I done got a little pussy nigga over here that's testing me, so I got to go over here and knock on this nigga door and handle my business. But when I'm trying to do good and think good, but this nigga testing me now. He see I'm trying to go to different directions, and that's when the tests come. That's when all the niggas come out the woodwork, the tough shit.
One thing I will say is I like his honesty. And you see people still dealing and fighting with their mental situations, they, as we call them, they demons, their spirituality, everything. But I thought it was interesting. I just want to know how y'all feel about that, about one of the Bloods saying that they came up and, you know what I'm saying, they was worshiping the devil, you know what I'm saying? And I just wanted y'all to think about this, right? Not judging, but think about it saying, yo, understand why if you in the streets or when you playing certain games and you got good in you, or you dealing with shit when you trying to do right and trying to enable like, I'm gonna fix the hood, it's hard to fix the hood if you understand where the hood is rooted. And that's the issue with a lot of this shit. A lot of this shit is rooted into this shit. So to really free yourself and to free your mind and to really do better, you're gonna have to learn how to grow up and step. And sometimes you be so deep in you can't walk away, but you can mature, and it's just about chess, not checkers. Because I know it's a lot of shit. Sometimes they don't want you to walk away because you know too much, or this and that. But either way, just being straight up as time progresses, you know what I'm saying? That's why a lot of the streets and a lot of the gangsters, they trying to redeem themselves, redemption. And it's just crazy. That's why I say I'm gonna leave that to y'all and people that didn't see this yet, who tapped in. He was talking about somebody from LA talking about how they used to worship the devil in the games. You know what I'm saying? We kept it funky. Then the second part of this lecture tonight, and I always say lecture, is we're gonna talk about Chopper, who used to be a part of the band. And I'm gonna let y'all another video where I just wanted to say in my current events, because I always try to give you current events early before we get into the history. You know, Chopper was a part of making the band, and he opens up finally a little more about what was going on.
How do you feel about these gay rumors that's coming out about Diddy? All these guys coming out saying that he violated them.
I'm gonna say this. At the end of the day, I'm not gonna say Diddy is straight. You hear me? I'm not gonna say that. I know what a straight man is, and I wouldn't 100% say Diddy is straight. I don't think nothing wrong with being gay as long as you're proud of being who you are. But I think Diddy has fondled in the closet a lot in his life, for sure. Yeah, for sure. That's why I said left field. If you ever heard me say on the interview, I said left field, UFO, definitely X-Files. If that's who you are, you heard me? That's all gravy, as long as you standing firm on who you are. But I do believe that the homie done funneled a lot in his life, for sure. Even from what I've seen. I mean, walking to the studio, and I'm just gonna say at the end of the day, bruh, there is no crime of being a freak, but you know, if you gay, it's okay. Let it be known. Like, you did. Maybe they wouldn't look at you so crazy because the accusations that they're giving you, Diddy, with the dudes that's suing you from all that type of shit, it is only a certain amount of time towards people from different walks of life can keep saying the same thing and it don't be true. You heard me? It got to be some truth to that. You did. So all I'm gonna say is at the end of the day, you know, do I think Diddy gay? I don't know what that means. Do I think Diddy is a bisexual? Yes. Yes, I do. And that right there is coming from just my experience, you know, to know what a straight man is and to know a man that like to play a lot in life, that like to funnel a lot in life. You dig? He lived too long to not want to do that. And I don't even think he will be gay off being sexually attracted to men, you know. I think it'd be him experimenting so long that he'll get tired of the bad business. So when I hear the stories of, you heard me, of the situations, it just kind of makes me say, yeah, sound about right. Because it does sound about right. You can't sit up here and not have it not plague your mind to say, I think Diddy used to funnel with boys too. Do you think Diddy used to funnel with boys? You're asking me, do you think so?
I mean, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like he had his share of men before. I don't know. I mean, hey,
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
but for you said that you believe he's bi. So what did you see that makes you believe that?
All right. One time I'm in the studio. Don't judge me either. One time I'm in the studio, and maybe I was tripping because I never really quite been a weed smoker or nothing, you know. But one time I'm smoking weed, brother, and I walk in the studio and just seen uncomfortability to my eyes. How about that? I seen uncomfortability to my eyes. You know, and my eyes are very comfortable with things that I see. And I seen uncomfortability with my eyes. And I'm not going to, I'm not laying back there and saying that everything I'm saying is just 100. You know, that's why it was so easy for me to get out of my contract, is because Round knew to let me go. You know what I'm saying? And even right now, I just say uncomfortability to my eyes. You can take that how you want it. You heard me? But uncomfortability to my eyes, what I'm not used to seeing two men do when I look at them. A powerful man at that. I walked in the studio and seen two powerful men doing things that was uncomfortable to my eyes. And that's it. So you can take that how you want it. There you have it. My dad.
He said, I walked into the studio and seen two grown men doing uncomfortable things. And it was uncomfortable to him because it's not his lifestyle, right? And everybody got these stories. And I want to point out something he said that's true. When all these people from different walks of life, so you could be in the same environment or the same mindset of people. And while you're in the same environment and the same mindset of people, you get the same type of way everybody view you. But when you're dealing with people from different walks of life, different backgrounds, different professions, right, different mindsets, and they're all giving you the same thing of a person, then you got to believe it. And that's very true.
Daddy told me to say that. My daddy said, make sure you let it be known that my pa, free my daddy. He said, you make sure you let it be known if you seen something uncomfortable with your eyes, you dig? That man left you down bad. You got shot. I got fucking shot. I went through a lot. I couldn't even feed my family. Yeah, fucking right, that nigga gay. Uncomfortable with my eyes. Fucking right. Yes, he's gay. Okay, but I don't think someone being gay is bad. And that's the thing. I don't think someone being gay is like a curse. If that's their preference, then say, bro, that's their preference. Now, you asked me, did it do anything left field? And that's why I gave the answer. Yes, I've seen things when I walked in the studio that was uncomfortable to my eyes with another powerful person in the music business. And that's just that.
What was your reaction and what was his reaction when you caught him?
I opened the door. I seen what I seen, and I heard him and slammed the door. And ever since then, Round was treating me nice. That's how I was. Fuck, I couldn't get Lil Daddy, the Lil Daddy video. I couldn't get the Lil Daddy video shot for nothing. You heard me? I'm talking about for nothing. But after that happened, I went back home to New Orleans and we was shooting Lil Daddy. As a matter of fact, we shot Lil Daddy, my solo Lil Daddy, and we shot the remix with Wayne and Jody Breeze the same day. How you love that? Uh-huh. Yeah.
So he greenlit the videos after you caught him.
Right after that. Yeah, I just seen I seen it, bro, and it fucked me up. I'm not even gonna much lie to you. I wasn't really I looked at Diddy differently after that. The $30 million was out the window once I seen him look that way. You know, I low key kind of I wasn't feeling that bad boy shit no more. I wasn't feeling that shit no more. And say, bro, the funny part, I'm never really the type of person that get on here and do all that shit there. But I talked to my daddy, and my daddy said, you went through so much in life and you swept it under the rug. And everybody just expect you to just eat that. That man left you for dead out here. You don't have to speak your truth. You just gotta be city. Just be yourself. This time, be yourself. Just be yourself. You don't have to say, oh, I'm speaking my truth, or I'm not trying to expose nobody. It's already out there. How I'm trying to expose was already out there. I'm just happy I wasn't the first one to do all that there. All right, that's clear. Yeah, I seen a nigga kissing the man, tonguing him down. You heard me? That shit was fucking crazy. And I looked at him differently after that. That's just all that is. I looked at him totally different after that. And I just wanted out of the deal. It ain't like Bad Boy dropped me or nothing. I just wanted out of the deal. I was too disgusted with just a lot of shit that was going on. I was disgusted. I was tired of this. And to be honest with you, say, bro, for real, yeah. Say, bro, to be honest with you, I could have tolerated it and been the biggest star in the world right about now. No doubt about it. But at the end of the day, my dignity, bro, my honor, and just, I always think about where I'm from. You know, all Baron and Martin Luther King hit him hard. And I think about those people because those are the people that I really looked up to before it was rap. You know, so I look at how would they see me if they was to know the things that I saw that I tolerated. I wouldn't have been able to, I wouldn't be able to fathom that. And I couldn't look at it like, damn, I can't just tolerate a nigga doing all that in front of me and being okay with that. I mean, and Suge, you know, I used to roll with Suge from 2006 to 2008. I lived with Suge. And Suge, you know, regardless of how people talk down on him and all this here, you know, and whatever guy he was, I get it. You dig? You know, no one's perfect. But I put it on my life. Every time I went to mansion parties with Suge, and Suge got me a Ferrari too. Back then he got me a Ferrari too, no doubt. You can ask Mac Main or the Young Money Mac Main or whatever. You heard me? He'll tell you. You did when Mac Main came to see me in LA. Wayne Mac Main, you dig? I picked him up in a Ferrari, you know, that Suge gifted me. When I went to the parties with Suge, if that shit was wicked and all the celebrities, the actresses and all that there, when they was doing all that weird shit, Suge he'll tell me, he was like, if you ain't cool with that shit there, you know, just get out the way. But I'm going to enjoy myself. So you can go sit your ass on down here on the couch and go be a square all you want, but I'm gonna go enjoy myself. So Suge always did it like a boss, and to me that's a difference between Suge and Diddy. To me, Diddy did it like a weasel, and he expect you to be with whatever he's with. Suge would let you know from the beginning. I don't give a what you do. Your choice is yours. I'm gonna go enjoy myself with these bitches. So what if they doing weird shit? Mind your business if you ain't down with it. Facts. And that's the difference to me. You know, so ironically, free both of them. That's crazy.
It was crazy. He talking about Suge Knight, and it just tell you the real nigga in Suge. Like Suge tell him like, but this is why it's been so quiet so long, because there's a lot of real nigga principles that's not real nigga shit. I mean, it became real nigga went from being real to being more like unable of the fuck shit and fakeness. Because, you know, a lot of people gonna say like, yo, look, I'm about to go chill and go over here. I'm about to do all these women in here. Hey, yo, let them do what they do, ignore them, and just do it. And that's what became the environment and the mindset of the black celebrities in Hollywood. And that's why Eventually, though, see, just like Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Eventually, some of those people, let's say 50% of the people that was like, okay, I'm just gonna mind my business. But if you had any bit of curiosity, any bit of drug problem, any bit of, you know what I'm saying, alcohol, any of that shit, behind needed something, that's how you got pulled in there. You know what I mean? So remember that. My next video that I'm gonna go to is, I don't know how much I know, but in the last like 2-3 months, it seemed like after like 50 years or so, a certain amount of time, when they released the Freedom of Information Act, the feds, they gave us a lot of truth about Martin Luther King's assassination, Malcolm X, and a lot of it's still coming out. So with JFK, which I think is important because JFK played a role in some sense, and they knew that he had a compassion that probably would have helped the minorities in America, where they're telling you what really happened and what's going on, right? And so I figured I'd give y'all some of this. It's the last current event update before we get to the real history and the knowledge. So tune with me. This is only like 15 minutes.
Was forced to go ahead and kill him, which they wanted to do anyhow, came from that group. Okay, and that's partly because it's China lobby, that they have the long range view. And Mark Felt was getting set to after the burglary. Mark Felt, who was the deputy director of the CIA or deputy director of the FBI, he came in under Pat Gray. Pat Gray got appointed when J. Edgar Hoover died. And Pat Gray, this all becomes critical during the Watergate burglary because the burglary takes place on the night of the 17th. They're arraigned on the 18th. Bob Woodward picks up on the fact that one of the guys that's been arrested is a CIA wiretapping specialist at McCord, and starts trying to track the story, what's going on the morning of the 23rd of June. What's his head? His chief of staff. Nixon's chief of staff
wasn't.
No, what's it said?
Can we go?
Not John. It wasn't John.
I
Dean.
can't remember the name.
It was Altman. Or
Alderman.
Yeah. That he comes into the Oval Office, and he said, "Mr. President, we got a problem here." That John Dean has just called. Pat Gray has just come over, the head of the FBI, said that they're getting lots and lots of pressure to go investigate this bank down in Mexico City, where these $100 bills have been come from. And he said, and he wants to know if that's going to cause any problem. And Nixon says to Haldeman, he says, "Look," he said, "Get a hold of John Ehrlichman. Get a hold of John and go on over to the agency right away, and go over there and sit down with Vernon Walters and with Dick Helms, and you tell them right now to call the FBI and tell them to get the hell out of that part of the investigation." And Haldeman says to him, "Well, what am I supposed to tell him to say?" And he said, "You just tell them that if they don't get the FBI out of this part of the investigation, all the Mexico stuff about the Bay of Pigs guys could all come out."
Ooh.
Right? Nobody knows what that means. Nobody knows what that means. But what they're talking about is the base. They're talking about the base in Oaxaca, Mexico, with the training of the Bay of Pigs guys. That those are the guys that were being trained to do the assassination, because he knew that the assassination team could have gotten exposed, because it turns out that's the place where they paid the Watergate burglars out of that account down in Mexico City.
The one down there.
Out of the Ogario account. That's where the $100 bills came from. And that's the account where they were paying for the Triangular Fire Team base. It would have led right back to the assassination. And it turns out that Howard Hughes, E. Howard Hunt and Frank Sturgis were liaisons to the S-Force. Both of those guys. Okay, so that they were not only coordinating the burglary, but they were coordinating the S-Force that was the assassination team that was designed. And as Trafficante told us, this is the team that killed the president. And that becomes crucial.
So you're sitting in a
That's
room
right.
in Tampa with your partners, and you're talking to this mob boss.
No, it was a Bad Andy was the one talking to him. Bad Andy was the one talking to him, and Trafficante says right
But you're
there.
sitting there and
tells
you hear
him,
this.
No, he comes back and tells me this.
Okay.
But the bottom line is, there he is saying flat out, so this is the team that killed the president. He said.
How do you react to that?
Well, when I found that Bill Taylor told me, because Bad Andy had come back from interviewing Trafficante and was just completely thunderstruck by what he had found out.
Yeah.
He reached out to Bill Taylor, my investigator, and said, "Look, you two boys are good boys. You ought to leave right now." He said, "You don't want to go any farther in this. You both want to leave Bailey's office and don't come back." He said, "Just leave." And Bill Taylor, my chief investigator, that's not something you tell him, oh, you don't want to know. And so Bill just leaned in on him and got him to tell him what Trafficante had told us. And so Bill Taylor and I just said, "Fuck this, man. We're out of here."
Wait a minute. Let me back up for 1 minute, just because I'm trying to put this all together too. Obviously, it's tied,
Yes.
but there's also this weird, like, recent small movement online. There's a movement with every goddamn thing these days where they try to relitigate Watergate as, oh no, Nixon didn't order anything. It was just the CIA setup because they wanted to get him out of the way, maybe because he knew too much.
No.
That's bullshit.
It's all bullshit.
Right? Because he did
It's all
order
bullshit.
it.
People don't know anything about what they're talking about.
Right. But the people who did it,
Did what?
who actually broke into the building and did Watergate are completely inseparable from the Kennedy situation.
Well, that's right, because three of them were part of the S Force. I mean, the three, Rolando Martinez, Ricardo Chavez, the guys, and Bernard Barker, are all part of the S Force. They were part of the 15 people that were gunmen for Santos Trafficante. They were part of the force, right? And the reason they were in there is because they couldn't have just anybody going in trying to find out whether Larry O'Brien, who had been the lobbyist for Howard Hughes, had somehow found out about the fact that Hughes was the guy that Richard Nixon had create the team that created the assassination team back in 1960. Remember? So Howard Hughes is the guy that set up the team to kill Castro. They're the ones that killed the president. And Nixon was sure that if it leaked out that he's the one that created the team who end up being the one who killed the president, everybody would have been convinced he was in behind it.
But it's not like they acted on their own. When we're talking about killed the president, there's also, obviously there was the falling out with JFK and Allen Dulles, where he fires Allen Dulles, and then Allen Dulles effectively runs the CIA from his Georgetown, townhouse or whatever. So when you look at it from a high level, based on all the wild information, who's responsible? S4 killed him.
Yeah.
Right. And we can go into exactly who you think did.
Yeah.
But who's responsible? Like, who said we're doing this? Who were the guys in charge?
It was the Brown Brothers Harriman people. That they're the ones that would greenlight this. And it was Allen Dulles who was their consigliere.
Yeah.
He wasn't, the reason he was made the head of the Central Intelligence Agency was because he was legal counsel for Brown Brothers Harriman. It's not the other way around.
The military industrial complex, if you will.
Because the CIA was actually created pursuant to a memo that was written by Robert Lovett, who was the senior partner at Brown Brothers Harriman. He wrote it to Truman, advocating that they create a Central Intelligence Agency and that they have this capacity to do this. So that that's who Allen Dulles was. So the green light that got given to the S Force to go ahead and kill him, which they wanted to do anyhow, came from that group. Okay. And that's partly because it's China lobby, that they have the long range view that what they're doing is they're going to have to maintain preservation of the nuclear weapons systems in order to confront China, because you can't back China off with any kind of a threat of a traditional land war against them. You have to just threaten them with the nuclear weapons. And that's why they couldn't get rid of them. And that's why Kennedy had to be gotten rid of right away. People keep saying, why didn't they just wait until the election? and put in billions of dollars and beat him, in the election. They couldn't wait because he had a whole other year from November of 62 to November or 63 to 64. And he could have undertaken unilateral action as the president, commander in chief, to start disassembling the warheads. And that's what he was in the process of thinking of doing.
How do you know so confidently that, what was his name? Lorenzo Morales? Is that it?
Roger Morales.
Roger Morales.
Yeah, David Sanchez Morales is the guy.
David Sanchez Morales was the dude from the grassy knoll.
Yeah, he was the shooter. Everybody knew that he was the shooter. He was the shooter for the team. He was the shooter for the team. He was the
S Force.
The S Force. Yeah, that's the guy.
What was his background besides being a Cuban revolutionary?
He was the maximum marksman for them in the triangular fire team base. That's who he was, Morales. And the 15 guys there, we got the names of them. We know who they were.
When did you get the names?
I got the names back in May from Trafficante.
In May 73.
73. Yeah.
He gave you all of them.
Yeah, he laid them out just like that.
And it's not like they were all physically there that day.
Well, right? Actually, they were pretty well deployed in Dallas. Yeah, the whole team was there. It was a full operation. They had Rip Robertson was there. Rip Robertson is their field commander. There's a photograph of Rip Robertson standing right next to the Stennis freeway sign, standing right there. You can see the front whole in the photograph. You can see the whole front bumper of Kennedy's limousine coming into see, and there's Rip Robertson tipping his hat to the president. 1.2 seconds before the first shot rang out.
Oh my God!
So and Rip Robertson is the field commander for those. I know guys who know Rip Robertson. They gone hunting with Rip Robertson. Rip Robertson. They knew exactly who he was, and he was the guy that trained them all. My guy stood right on the deck of the Flying Tiger II with Rip Robertson and what's his name? What was the guy's name? William D. Pauley, who owned the Flying Tiger too. And when Johnny Martino was just bitching about the Kennedys and what sons of bitches they were and how they betrayed them and all that, and William Pauley turned directly to Johnny Martino at the time. He says, "Don't worry, Johnny, we're going to kill that motherfucker." Said it right in front of my guy. It was Dick Billings. Dick Billings, who was the Miami bureau chief for Life magazine. He was on board the ship because this was the last attempt they were going to make to try to assassinate Castro after they'd been ordered to stand down by John Kennedy and Bobby.
I might be getting this mixed up, but was Jose Rodriguez a part of that S Force?
Jose Rodriguez. There's Rolando. There's Rolando Martinez. No, not that I know of. No.
What was his tie though to JFK? Jose Rodriguez.
The Jose Felix. You were talking about Felix.
I'm sorry, I keep saying.
Yeah, because I was trying to figure out who you're talking about.
Felix Rodriguez.
Felix Rodriguez was in fact on the S Force.
Okay.
Felix Rodriguez was on the S Force. Rafael Chichi Quintero was on the S Force.
Wait, Rafa Quintero, like the fucking cartel guy?
Yes, Rafael Chichi Quintero.
The Mexican?
No, Rafael Chichi Quintero is a particular guy. He's a longtime Cuban hardcore guy. He was the number 2 to Felix Rodriguez at the Ilopango at the weapons transfer for the Contra weapons supply operation. That was Chichi.
Okay.
But Chichi was one of the main shooters, and Chichi was one of the trainers. Chichi, let's see here. Felix Rodriguez ended up being one of the trainers for the Lebanese Phalange assassins under Shackley.
Who were they?
Shackley was handpicked. Theodore Shackley is this really important character that people don't know about. Theodore Shackley is the guy that he was a German and Polish American translator back during World War II. His family fled from Poland before World War II. And he grew up here. He was in the 101st Counterintelligence Corps at the end of World War II. And when Reinhard Gehlen, who was the head of the Waffen-SS, anti-Soviet and anti-Eastern Bloc intelligence, turned himself in to the 101st Counterintelligence Corps in Germany, this fellow was assigned to be his translator, Theodore Shackley. So he was with him when Gehlen came to Fort Hood outside of Washington, D.C., and had a long, protracted negotiation with them about allowing him to head up West German intelligence at the end of World War II. And he brought his entire organization, what they call the Gehlen organization, out of the Third Reich with him into West Germany to head up the anti-Soviet and anti-Eastern Bloc intelligence for NATO for 26 years. And Theodore Shackley was left on as his deputy. Was in the original class of the CIA, 1948. And he was assigned, his first assignment was to go back to Berlin and to work directly under Gehlen. And General Gehlen became the head of the West German intelligence for 26 years. And Shackley was his deputy there at the Berlin operating base of the CIA. And Shackley was brought in was brought in to be the new Miami station chief out of Berlin, out from under Gehlen, who's this kind of rabid anti-communist guy, fascist, full scale, Third Reich fascist. And so they brought in Shackley to be the new station chief in Miami, to run that JM Wave operation that was the prodigy to the Operation 40. That was Shackley. And Shackley, therefore, had supervisory authority over the S-Force. The S-Force, since it was made up of guys out of Operation 40, those guys were under the auspices of Theodore Shackley as the CIA station chief in Florida. Okay. Then he went from there, from being the CIA station chief in Florida to being the CIA deputy station chief in Laos, and then the CIA station chief in Laos, where he established the contract with Vang Pao, the opium warlord.
Yep.
And ended up, eliminating both competitors to Vang Pao in the Golden Triangle by calling in sorties against them, and ended up reducing by 1/3 the total output of opium coming out of the Golden Triangle, but established complete monopoly control over it on behalf of Vang Pao, and then was given a percentage of the profits, which he put over into the Nugan Hand Bank. I've talked to the guys that used to bring suitcases.
This is where it came to the church.
That's just where to get out church committee. Yeah, that's the source of the money. That's Theodore Shackley. And Theodore Shackley ended up being handpicked by George Bush Sr. when he became the director of the CIA under Ford. That he brought in Bush to be the CIA director, and Bush brought in Shackley to be the head of covert operations worldwide. And that's Theodore Shackley. He's the one that ran the enterprise. He's the one that created the enterprise. It wasn't Oliver North or any of those people. It was Theodore Shackley. Ran that entire operation, created that entire thing. Set up the Egyptian American Transport and Service Company, which was the mothership for that whole thing. Set up the off-the-shelf enterprise. Ran all of the Midnight Aviation, all of those corporations that were smuggling the weapons into the Contras and smuggling the cocaine back into the United States. That's all Shackley. Shackley's the one that supervised the October surprise against Carter when they made the deal with the hostages
with the
to
have
Hezbollah hold 52 hostages. That was Shackley.
And wait until Reagan.
That's right.
Oh
that was Shackley's operation. Shackley ran that whole thing. Yeah, and he was
watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by
My apologies. I had my mute on. That's why it's important for us to understand that there's so much information today, and it's so many things going on that are misunderstood, because since there's so much information, it's hard to figure out what's good and what isn't. And I always say there's information to fit every ideology to some extent if you're not digging for clarity. And that's why I say it's very important to understand what's going on and to see how much information from the JFK assassination to the Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and all of the people before that we had to worry about, to know that there was enough going on, that it was powerful people in the background making shots, or they powerful people will put groups together, but people in these groups will make shots. So it's deep. I want to get to the last part of the convo this morning, which is Dr. Afrika on the Melanin Chronicles. And it's great information. It's for all my knowledge lovers. You know what I'm saying?
Process. Person catches the cold when they drink the soda or eat the hamburger. That's when they catch the cold, when your nose is running.
Mhm.
That's when your body's trying to throw out the waste that one consumes when one consumes the soda. So we view it kind of different from regular people, what you call natural, the MDs. They mostly use what we call suppression of symptoms. If your nose is running, they'll give you something to suppress the nose, stop the nose from running. Whereas we would give you something to help promote the cleansing.
Okay. The whole question of uterine fibroids, as mentioned, obviously is a very, very serious one. At the outset, beyond, I suppose, what most people would be familiar with in terms of the function of a woman's uterus, beyond the obvious, what are some of, well, first of all, when we talk about uterine fibroids, what is it that we're talking about?
We're talking about fiber, and the uterus is composed of muscle and gland, which we call mucosal membrane tissue. So it's fiber, and something inside the fiber that looks like a bump, we say look like it's oid. So we say there's a bump in the fiber, so we say fibroid. So basically it's a bump, and if it gets big, we call it a cyst. If it gets bigger, we call it a tumor. It's the size of a bump, which is like a egg with waste in it. So that's what we're talking about. This waste is in the fiber of the uterus itself, in the muscle tissue.
Now, in terms of, again, getting back to that first part, the function of a woman's uterus, what are we talking about in terms of her health?
Well,
functioning of her body.
We are talking about a fibroid, which is a bump, which a small one would be called a cyst. We're talking about something like a fibroid that can grow to be a very large bump, about the size of an egg, and it can get the size of a grapefruit. So it's putting excess weight in the uterus and may cause it to tilt forward, which would mean the lady would feel the need to urinate a lot or have problems urinating. Or this big bump the size of a grapefruit can tilt back, and then it'd be pressing against the rectum, which can cause constipation or something like that. Now the bump has fiber in it, and the fiber grows into the tissue of the uterus itself. And so sometimes the fibroid and the uterus become one. It's become one big bump. So the fiber grows into the uterus fiber, and since it has veins and arteries in it, it gets trapped inside. And so the blood can't move properly, so this blood gets trapped in these veins squeezed by the muscle, and then you have dead blood inside of the uterus. So it's causing the uterus not to be able to contract and expand like a muscle does. So when it does try to contract and expand, it causes pain and discomfort. And when the lady walks, it causes the muscles in the uterus to expand and contract. So when walking would be painful, sexual intercourse would be painful. And then because the uterus has the fibroid in it and it's in the muscle tissue, when the lady's menstruating, some of the blood will come out, but some of it's trapped by the fiber. So she'll have spotting, clots, and intermittent and mid-cycle bleeding going on just because the uterus function is being hampered by the fibroid. So it's a very difficult situation because it stops the egg from being fertilized, because the egg, the ovaries produces the egg, and the egg implants in the uterus. But since there's no more soft tissue there, because the fiber of the fibroid is blocking all the soft tissue, that she can't get conceived because the uterus is just too stiff.
For me, you're probably one of the first persons that I ever referenced that dealt with the whole question of health in terms of different groups of people. There is an area now that is being looked at called, bionutrition. How did that develop for you, and what are some of the significant things that you've, experienced in terms of studying that particular area over the years?
Well, we're looking at ethnomedicine. This is a branch of medicine called ethnomedicine, ethnic group ethnomedicine, and this is a legitimate branch of medicine. It's taught in all Orthodox medical schools. Most of the doctors know about it anyway, they just don't utilize it. And that ethnomedicine is based on the melanin content of the person. If you have a high melanin content, aside from being able to absorb more sound, which means you can hear more music out of the music, aside from being able to see the full depth of a color, because you have melanin in your eyes, so you absorb more color, aside from having all this melanin in your taste buds, which means you can taste the full range of flavor inside of a flavor. The more melanin, the more you can taste, the more you can hear, the more you can think, because the melanin helps you store information and transmit information faster. So this melanin is a marker here, a biomarker in the whole situation. The more melanin you have, the more vitamins and minerals you have per square inch. We call it nutrient density. So Black people have more vitamins and minerals in their body. We absorb the most sound, the most color. We can taste the full range of flavor. We have more balance. It causes us to store information at a quicker rate. It makes us more human. The more melanin you have, the more psychic you are, the more spiritual you are, the more you can balance the cycles in your body. An African lady has 4 major cycles running in her reproductive system. She has an earth cycle, a lunar cycle, a solar cycle, or sun cycle, as you would call it, and a galactical cycle. Those are 4 cycles that are synchronized by the melanin. Whereas a European woman only has 2, the earth cycle and lunar cycle. That's why they have the honeymoon, and because they can't absorb all those other cycles, because you need more melanin to do that. So melanin is the biological marker here. But the problem is that the Black ladies go to the labs of the hospitals and get their tests done, and the biological markers, the standards are set on white people, on white women, which they have the lowest amount of melanin. So they have the least amount of vitamins and minerals per square inch. So therefore, a person, a Black man or child, aside from the women going to the hospital, the melanin levels right here for us, where it's like that for white people. So we have that much extra vitamins and minerals, but when our level of vitamins and minerals fall all the way down to number 1, that's where the Europeans are rated, white people, their lab studies would view us as being normal, whereas we're already sick.
So the whole context then of going to a hospital or what have you, you're saying that that whole process then is flawed. So in many instances, obviously, if you're going into it and it's flawed, then what can you expect to come out of it with in terms of restoring health?
You're going to come out of it with some kind of level of disease. You're going to be sick. If you follow the white standards of normalcy for an African person with this high melanin content, you will be sick, but their lab study will say there's nothing wrong with you. So you go into this psychological illusion. I had a checkup, you know, that you're healthy when you're actually sick, because they never translated it based on the melanin content of your body. Then they're going to diagnose the Black woman as if she's a white man, because all diagnostic techniques are set on diseases, signs, and symptoms in white men. The founders of European medicine are military doctors, and military doctors heal the soldiers and put them back in combat. So all the diagnostic symbols, markers are white men, not Black women. So a Black woman getting a sign and symptom of a heart attack is going to have maybe a little burning sensation in the heart, maybe some kind of numbness or tingling in the legs, maybe a little pain in the rotator cuff here. That's her sign and symptom of a heart attack. A sign and symptom, that's what we call the female principle in African medicine. So the female principle is how diseases are expressed first, the male principle second. But instead of us looking at the female expression of disease, we wait for the male expression of disease, which means you're twice as sick. So the male expression of a heart attack, female, is different from the female. The male principle means that a heart attack is a crushing blow to the chest. So all we wait for and look for is the male principle of disease expression, which means we're already twice as sick. So the Black woman's diagnosing herself as a white man. Then she's going to the hospital getting herself diagnosed as a white woman, 3 times as sick in all diseases. No way you can be healthy using what European standards and you're African. So then we have this, that's just the obvious part. That's why we have this branch called ethnomedicine. So we can use the biological markers based on the melanin content of the person. That's where you get the word hue. Hue means pigment. Pigment means melanin. So you judge races by their hue content. That's why you say human being, because you're talking about melanin. The whole science of medicine is based on melanin. Chemistry comes from the word chemi. Chemi means black. Black means melanin. When you study chemistry, you're studying melanin. When you study biology, you study melanin's ability to control the cell. So all we're studying all through school is melanin, biology, and chemistry, but they never mention the word melanin. Because it would lead you back to Africa, lead you back to supremacy, lead you back to the greatness of our, race and civilization. So they don't want to lead you back there. So they're never going to mention the word. It's like
and it's crazy. It's just like certain words. So they never, through our whole life, we was learning the sciences based on the amount of melanin and carbon, right? But they never used the word in school to say certain words so that we wouldn't get triggered to start looking for what is melanin and what. Just like how they don't use the word more like that. It's hidden and stashed for reasons in other words, not just those words. But when they intentionally hide these words, we got to ask ourselves why. And if it had no power, it meant nothing, then why not? Why have the word so tucked in history and so tucked away that we got to find out in our own dimensions, in our own way, mentally?
Chinese say acupuncture meridian. Those are melanin memory lines in the body. Those racist Chinese don't want to say melanin. Nobody wants to say, maybe there's something great about these people. So they always skip over the word melanin. The Indian people don't want to say melanin, they say chakras. Those are melanin clusters in the body. Give me a break. You see, we have to start with the racism in medicine too. It's not just in voting and school, it's in medicine. And that's why we're getting sick, because of the racism. And it's really sad for a black woman to go to the hospital and be diagnosed as if she's a white man. That is really sad.
Given all of that, how do we, what role then does, say, diet play in this? Because I think in looking at the diet today, again, it's not certainly the diet that maximizes the health potential of the African person. Can you speak a little bit to that, the relationship of the food that we're eating, and how that, in terms of specific with the uterine fibroid onset?
Well, when you're talking about food, you're talking about mangoes, grapes, cauliflower, broccoli, rice, corn. We're talking about food here. When you're talking about processing something, now we're not in the area of food. If you were to eat an apple, your body would process it. Your liver would do something to it, your pancreas, your small intestine, large intestine, and a totally processed apple is called a bowel movement. You follow me?
Sure.
So if you take the wheat to the factory and let the factory eat it, which they call processing, what they're selling you is bleached white flour, but by definition, that is a bowel movement. Because it's already been processed. It's been digested by machines. A machine to duplicate your liver, a machine to duplicate your pancreas. So therefore, you're eating food contraband or food stuff, but that is not food. And they don't lie to you about it. They say it's processed. It's just another word for saying they let a factory eat the food for you. You see. So then when you digest it, the fumes of it, the perfume agents come out of it, and then you smell the true smell of this bowel movement. That's why we have this deodorant soap now, an extra strength band, and all this odor eaters for our shoes, and because we stink because we're rotting inside, because we're not eating food, we're eating processed food, which is another word for manure. So we're in bad shape there. It's the cumulative effect of this whole thing. I mean, every day you're accumulating more junk in your system, and it's not that people are concerned about it, because most of the ladies have an eating disorder. They have an eating addiction because they're chemically addicted to the food. It's not like they can just stop. The chemicals are put in the food to make it addicting. Then you have these sex hormones put in the food also. You have an extra large amount of sex hormones in dairy, in the milk and cheese. They put all these sex hormones in it to make the cow grow faster and produce more milk. And the milk today has more pus in it and bacteria because of the synthetic chemicals they put in it. And these chemicals cause the fibroids as well. Aside from the estrogen and synthetic sex hormones in the meat, if someone's trying to get rid of fibroids, we have to take them off of dairy, and we have to take them off of meat, because those chemicals in the meat and dairy alone cause fibroids. Aside from the fact that the latex condom causes chlamydia, pelvic inflammatory disease, and fibroids. The talcum powder in it causes cysts and tumors. The gel in the latex condom, rubbers as we call them, causes cancer. And all that leaks into the uterus during sexual intercourse because the pores of the rubbers expand because of friction. So all these chemicals go into the vagina and get into the uterus, and that contributes to fibroid tumors. So if you just being, so what we're looking at is the synthetic food the bleach white flour, the white sugar. The white sugar alone is going to cause the veins and arteries of the prostate and the uterus to get hard, because what the body tries to do is dilute the sugar. See, when you take the sugar out of the apple and you eat that sugar, the body says, where's the vitamins and minerals and water that went with the apple? So it pulls it out the veins and arteries. So that's going to cause the veins and arteries of the uterus and the prostate to get stiffer. Of course, it's going to cause blindness. The person's going to be on dialysis, lose their leg and feet anyway. But I'm just saying that there's a slow process where this is causing the stiffening of the uterus and the cumulative effect of the bleach white flour and the dehydrating sodas, because sodas dehydrate the body. When they make the soda, it's just dehydrating because it's just like this sugar. It needs all this water. It's like salt. It needs a lot of water. So we call them mineral salts in chemistry. So it's pulling the fluids out of the veins and arteries, making the uterus stiffer, which means it's going to hold more waste. So we got to come off of the bleach white flour and the white sugar. We got to come off of the dairy and the meat and the latex condom just to get in some kind of range of health here. But no, we're not looking at all these things, because most black people, and the black ladies included, have an eating disorder. They eat for emotional reasons. They eat when they're upset. They eat when they're happy. They eat when they go shopping. They're addicted to the food. So they have an eating disorder on top of the fact they're trying to be healthy. You see? So we really got to look at this issue of the fibroids.
You know, it really made me think when he was saying that, because, you know, when he started breaking down, he said that condoms is, you know, the rubbers, the latex, the rubbers, it causes, like, oh, just like tell people that when you're dealing with that smoke pens a lot or any type of thing, it's like a chemical change going on. He's saying with the condoms, the talcum powder they put on the condom, right? And also the chemical that they make to make the rubber. They said when the friction is happening, the rubber is expanding, it's releasing chemicals, and this is what's causing a lot of these things. And they knew it, right? They knew this would do it to us. But I want you to think on a deeper level. What did we learn recently? We learned that we electric beings, right? And if we electric beings and we put condoms on, and it's crazy because we got to worry about disease, right? So when we put condoms on, that means that we're stopping the flow of electricity. And at the same time, like, it's deep and we don't even realize it.
Holistically, aside from the fact that it's spiritual, that the uterus is a spiritual organ, well, it's actually a gland. Well, that's going into the miseducation that we had, because we don't know what an organ and a gland is.
Expand on that, though, when you say a spiritual organ.
Well, we're talking about creation. We're talking about being able to recreate yourself. So we have a system of sexuality in African culture. We call it sexual regeneration and sexual reproduction. And when you just focus on sexual reproduction, you're in the phase of sex known as breeding, which is what we learned on slavery. But before we came here, we had sexual regeneration. And that's when the man ejaculates and don't ejaculate. That's when the man and the woman say a mantra when they get to the orgasm state and visualize the energy going up their spinal cord, up to their pineal gland, and regenerating their spirit. And we call it, using sex for that purpose, sexual regeneration, which is what we practiced before we came here. There's a male component to sexual intercourse, which we call the sympathetic nervous system mediated. Then there's a parasympathetic mediated part of sexual intercourse, which we call a female principle. When you're in African science, you always deal with the male principle and the female principle. If a person doesn't say male and female principle, they're not in African science. Because we know it takes a male and female to make a child. It takes a negative and positive to get electricity going. You always have to have this male and female principle. Even if you took music, which is art, and you played the piano, you're going to end up in science. Because it's math. So art is female and science is male. That's why they call medicine a healing art. That's when you're using the female principle of medicine. That's how you diagnose. You diagnose with the female principle and the male principle. And when we were looking at disease earlier, and I was talking about the male expression of disease, we were just using the male principle. And you can't make a good diagnosis that way. You have to use both of them because it takes two to tango, as my grandmother would say.
Does the male contribute to the development of fibroids in the female in any way?
Oh, yes. The females contribute to the development of prostate.
How so?
It's aside from the fact that we don't use sexual regeneration, aside from the fact that the lady may harbor anger in her body, which will stop the uterus from working properly. Anger, frustration, disappointment, all those are feelings that have an impact on the muscular system. That's why people say, I got to relax. They're too tense. But in a relationship, you can produce tension. You see, this is not, I don't think couples doing this deliberately.
Sure.
They're just not aware of the impact that they have on each other through their words. Because we do a lot of sick things to each other. We look at each other sickly. When you look at a woman and you're just looking at her behind, you're looking at the woman like she's a white woman. And that the white, you see what I'm saying? Because they train us to look at each other's behind. That's not the way African people look at each other. We look at the spirit, third eye, then we look at the two eyes, because we make a spiritual attachment first. You see? Then we go into an intellectual and a physical kind of thing. But first we look at the eye of Haru, if you into Kemetic kind of thing. We're looking at that spiritual consciousness. But we're looking strictly at the ladies behind, and we just concentrating on the physicality of her. Just like the sisters look at the brothers behind. See, that's the way Europeans look at each other. That's not the way Africans look at each other. I don't know why we're looking at each other behind. Anyway, we don't sell toilet paper. No telling. The people must get very excited when they look at a toilet. If they're into this behind thing so much. That has nothing to do with Africans. So when we look at each other that way, we're making each other sick just by looking at each other. Because we're not looking at each other through our culture. Because we're not exposed to the fact that science is the language of a culture. It's not like people think 1 and 1 is 2. That has nothing to do with science. Science is a language of a culture. It's the language. Science is political and social. Medicine is political and social. It's the language of a culture. It's supposed to help you connect to your body, connect to God, and connect to nature. That's what science is supposed to do. If all you're doing is connecting to your body, then you're missing the rest of it, so you're making yourself sick. That's European science. That's not African science. African science is first spiritual. When you throw that out of it, you're going to be sick anyway. So it's a lot involved here. As Carnegie would say, we're miseducated in the way we look at each other, and we're miseducated in the way we diagnose each other, and we're miseducated about what food is. You see? So that puts another factor in the equation. So we can't produce healthy children. Most of us come out of dysfunctional relationships anyway. So we're going to make a dysfunctional relationship. If you're not free, you're dysfunctional by definition. And most of us come out of dysfunctional relationships. A slave man and a slave woman are dysfunctional. Because you can only be functional if you're free. So we come out of hereditary caste system of passing down dysfunctionality, passing down anger, passing down all this erroneous beliefs about our sexuality and diet to each other. We carry this stuff.
So all of this then culminates in the diseased body. I mean, we're talking specifically here of just uterine fibroids, but we're talking about the whole entity, of which uterine fibroids is just one aspect of it.
Yeah, we're talking about the whole entity, and we're looking at sterilization. We're looking at another form of genocide. When you're running into like 60% of the black women with fibroids. I see young girls 9 and 10 now with fibroids. I see young boys 9 and 10 now with prostate problems. You see,
9 and 10.
Yes. Anytime a young lady's having a period 5 days, she's heading into some fibroids. Because the period should not be 5 days. 3 is the max. 1 is normal. So if she's into 5 days of menstruation, she's heading into fibroids.
Now, I mean, this is not something that I have any extensive knowledge on, but just in terms of those females in my life and hearing other females talk, it seems that seems to be the normal in terms of time, 5 to 7 days. So you're saying that in fact is abnormal?
Yes. Is that whoever taught them the normal? Who taught them the normal? It's the European standard of chemistry, the European standard of lab studies. They're basing normal on a white person's body. So my question is, who taught them this normal?
That's crazy. So he's basically saying that we have been taught so wrong that he's saying once we go back to our true culture and understand ourselves, that a woman should only bleed for 1 day and 3 at the most, and that's being abnormal. 5 days she's headed to fibroids. And when I think about it and looking at life and look, a lot of women bleed for multiple days. That's normal. You see how lost we are and wonder why we having issues and stuff in the health situations. So that's why this information is so key for the people that pay attention and watch.
And then they'll realize that this 5 days of menstruation is not normal. It's 3 days is the max. But when you're looking at 5 days, the lady better come off the dairy, come off the meat, come off that sugar. she's heading some problems, sure enough. I mean, it's not enough blood stored in the walls of the uterus, first of all. So we know it's a potassium deficiency. It's not enough blood. It's got to be a certain amount of blood being held in the walls of the uterus for the period to be down to 3 days anyway. But since the body is dehydrating, because bleach white flour is dehydrating, if it was whole wheat flour, I know you know, but I'm saying if it was whole wheat flour, it'd be brown and had the right moisture in it, the vitamins and minerals. If it doesn't, the body's going to try to pull the water, pull the calcium, magnesium to make the bleach white flour whole. So it's a starvation food. So it's starving the uterus of food, you see. Aside from the psychological factor involved here, we're dealing with white flour, we're dealing with white sugar, we're dealing with white milk. And the first thing that we saw when we were a child is a white bottle of milk. So we're associating nurturing and love and affection with white anyway. You see, the racism has already started when you show a baby a white bottle of milk instead of a brown breast. So they associate love and affection with blackness instead of whiteness. So we got this visual kind of impact that's causing us to be sexually addicted to the food, you see. That's why the food is shaped sexually. The Coca-Cola bottle, I think you remember that. The sexual shape of the hot dog, penis, of all the candy bars are sexually shaped. That's why they name them after men, Musketeers, you know, the Babe Ruth. They're shaped like a penis and they got nuts on them. How obvious can you get? And they're named after men. So they got sexually addicted to the food, addicted to the hormones in the food. Now they come up with addicting you to the radiation in the food by what they call the barcode. Now they radiate in the food. Now we're addicted to the radiation in the food. The only way out of this situation is to go back to nature. When you put something in between you and the potato, then you're putting something in between you and God. You see, you don't want to eat the potato chip. You want to eat the potato. So if we go back to eating the food in this natural state, it'll put the uterus back in its natural state. You see.
Before I get to actually asking you to lay out some of the changes, let's talk about, you mentioned about the male and their role. Now, some time ago, I had a conversation and I referenced Dr. Pulcom at the outset. She had pointed out to me that she felt that also the male contributed to the development of not just fibroids, but in fact certain other cervical cancer, as a matter of fact.
That's true.
Through not taking care of himself and the toxicity of the semen that is ejaculated into the woman's uterus, and that contributing to also the development of fibroids and other disease. Can you talk a little bit about
we're talking about acid sperm, basically. But you're talking about a lady who fed the little boy. See, this thing is equal here. The ladies, of course, the men have prostate problems, and the men are causing the ladies to have uterine problems. I mean, it's equal here. We're all under this kind of oppressive medical system here. But the issue is that you could not, if I had a breeding bull that I'm selling the sperm to the dairy cow industry, and I said, this bull does not sleep, this bull eats junk, this bull smokes, this bull drinks, stays up late watching football and wrestling or whatever, and I'm trying to sell this man the sperm, he said, I don't want that sperm. And another man called and said, this bull exercises every day, eats green grass and drinks water, sleeps. Who's going to get the sale on the sperm? I mean, the whole industry is conscious of what's going on here. It's just that the brothers think that they can be in poor health and their sperm can be in good health. That's impossible. If your health is poor, then your sperm is poor. If you're drinking, smoking, not exercising, not eating properly, eating bleach white flour, white sugar, aside from getting dialysis, losing your legs and feet and going blind, it's going to cause an impact on the sperm. Because the sperm is in your body, and anything you do to your body, you do to your sperm. You see? So that's one of the factors there, is the ladies are getting poor quality sperm. I totally agree. But the thing that's overriding everything is the food addiction. The main problem with us is we are addicted to food. We got to eat all the time. And the problem with the uterine fibroid is the sisters are addicted to the food. See, they try the remedies, like if we're going to shrink the fibroids, we use a herb called witch hazel. We use another herb called white oak bark, because we're trying to shrink the fibroids. So we're going to use witch hazel, white oak bark, shepherd's purse. Those are 3 herbs we're going to use just to shrink the fibroids. And then we want to increase the blood supply to the uterus. So if I had a fibroid, I had a tumor in my brain, I want to shrink it, I use shepherd's purse, witch hazel, and white oak bark. But I want to get it to my brain, so I use ginkgo or gotocola. Follow me? Now, if I want to get it to my uterus, I'm going to use shepherd's purse, white oak bark, follow me, witch hazel, and I'm going to use chase tree berries or dongqua or red raspberry leaves. And that increases blood perfusion to the uterus and helps me to shrink the tumor. Or we can use a poultice with sanicle or thuja and the same herbs and put it over the uterus itself. So we can use, that's like making a sandwich out of the herbs and putting it in some gauze and putting it over the uterus and taping it over, some saran wrap over top of it to keep the moisture in and helps to impact it from the outside. And then we're taking the herbs, drinking them at least 3 cups a day to help shrink it. But we're fighting against ourselves if we don't control the diet. That's what I'm saying. Of course, we use an amino acid called glutathione. Glutathione shrinks fibroids. It's amino acid. There's actually 3 amino acids together, glycine and cysteine and glutamine, but it's sold and they call it glutathione. It's amino acid that shrinks fibroids. Then we use another thing that makes hormones, a precursor called pregnenolone. Pregnenolone, most people are not familiar with. It looks like pregnant. Pregnenolone. We say pregnenolone. And that shrinks cysts and tumors on the fallopian tubes as well. So we use pregnenolone, glutathione, and we use these herbs to shrink the fibroids and clean up the blood, like burdock or golden seal, or I know you can burdock, golden seal, dandelion root, which is good for the pineal gland. So we can clean up the blood, shrink the fibroids, and take these amino acids to help shrink it as well. There are remedies for it, but we're back to that same factor. We're back to this diet.
Now, is any of this, is this in terms of category of tumors? Is it ever malignant in terms of its toxicity?
Well, basically, that's a social kind of term to me. I don't know what malignant means.
No, in terms of in terms of the standard stuff that you hear out here, and again, using that reference.
Yeah, I understand.
Generally, if it's malignant, supposedly it's more dangerous than something that is benign, whatever. So I'm saying, and hence that's the rationale for the hysterectomy and all the other stuff that happens. So I'm saying, at any point, is that necessary in terms of the individual?
No, they have to be pretty far gone for a hysterectomy to be required. It has to be pretty far gone.
So why then is it so prevalent?
It's a fad. Medicine has fads. One time we had tonsillectomy. That was a fad. And women are the easiest prey in the medical industry. Women are what runs the medical industry.
Sure.
And we're forgetting that fibroids is not a disease anymore. It's an industry. Cancer is not a disease. It's an industry. AIDS is not a disease. It's an industry. And like any industry, like the automobile industry, we come up with new treatments, new research, all this kind of stuff to keep our industry going. Fibroids is an industry. It's an easy payday. All you have to do is tell a lady, oh, you got a 3-size or a 3-month pregnancy. Hell, the uterus is built to carry a 9-month pregnancy. So it's not size, it's the issue in fibroid, it's the location. It was blocking the mouth of the uterus itself. And then the menstruation fluid can't come out. It's the location that's the problem. It's not size. But to get a woman in that predicament, then you prey on them. The industry is run by men. The textbooks are written by men. The diagnostic techniques are written by men. So everybody's following the male standards. Even the female doctors are. And what they do is just scare the hell out of the woman and take her uterus. And the result is genocide. We can't expect anything terribly honest to come out of medicine. I don't know why they think medicine's so sacred in the first place. You can't expect anything. You have to take control of your health yourself. The same thing we were doing before we were allowed in the hospitals, before we were allowed on the front of the bus and all that stuff. We got to take control of our health ourselves to be healthy. You got to empower yourself with information and take control of your body, because you cannot expect the Europeans to take control of your health and provide for you. This is something that's personal. So I'm saying that the herbs available, the ones I named, the witch hazel, the white oak bark, and shepherd's purse are quite popular. You can get them anywhere. They're quite popular. And the herbs for the uterus that helps keep it strong, keep it toned, red raspberry is quite popular. So the lady can get those herbs.
Now, how do you know how to use them?
Well, for someone who doesn't know how to use them, they just take 3 cups a day. and that would be standard. And you mix them together in equal parts. So you take a teaspoon of white oak bark, a teaspoon of shepherd's purse, you see, and you mix them all together and fix them, and then keep it in the fridge. You can make a gallon at a time and keep it in the fridge, and then drink 3 cups a day. That's for someone who doesn't know that much about them. But education, I have educational videos and audio, so that Joel Pooper won't take you right through the whole steps of it all.
And what about those people that are actually just coming into this? So, there are those that can deal with that in the way that you mentioned it. There are others that might, it doesn't, the taste might be an issue for them.
Oh, then the herbs come in tablets. There's no excuse now. They come in tablets. They come in extract. You can buy them already made and drop it in some juice or drop it in some water and drink it. So there's no excuse now. Or you can make it yourself, which is cheaper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any other ways of actually dealing with it other than those that you've mentioned so far?
Well, yeah, for the person who has a little bit more development, they can use spiritual exercises, meditation, but most of us are physically based, and I'm like a ghetto kind of doctor. I deal with, most of the people I deal with can't afford to shop in a health food store. I mean, you got to have wealth to have health in America, and most people I deal with can't afford to go in a health food store, so I'm on that level. There are other ways, yes, but most of the people I deal with are not there. So you can meditate, you can use crystals. Some people I tell them to use certain crystals and place them on a Band-Aid form over the uterus. And some people have used magnets, some people have used color. You see, there are various ways now to be healthy, because anything that God makes is a medicine in the hands of a healer.
I'd like to actually walk through some of those a little bit in terms of just being a little bit more detailed. Now, how does the using magnets, what would actually work?
Well, first we have to go over the understanding of the reproductive system and understand what's going on here. The vagina is a muscle, and muscles contract and expand. And when they contract and expand, they're making a frequency. And a frequency is what you call music. A frequency is what you call colors. And the vagina is not a muscle by mistake. It was made by a scientist called God, you see. So it's doing this contraction, it's expanding. We call it in 3s and 5s, which is the male and female. And it's making colors, and it's making a rhythm, pulses that you would call it. And it's causing the electromagnetic force field to occur. And that is why the penis gets stiff, so it can pick up the electromagnetic force field, the colors and the music from the contraction of the vagina, and broadcast it up to the prostrate and tune the sperm. Then the uterus and the fallopian tubes do a kind of a dancing thing like this and tilt forward, which produces a cup at the mouth of the uterus. All of this is a very beautiful musical symphony put together by God. So all of this process is going on. So the uterus itself is making colors. The uterus itself is making an electromagnetic force field. The uterus itself is doing this. And so what we're doing is using the colors and the music and all that the uterus naturally makes and go in harmony with it to accentuate it. We make it into an orchestra instead of just a solo play to help the healing process, you see. But we understand that these colors, which some people call, I guess the layman would call it the 12 zodiac signs. Okay, so you have these 12 melanin centers on your brainstem. Black people do. White people only have 2. Black people have 360 melanin centers in their digestive tract. Europeans only have 40. You see, it's a total difference here between you and white people. You may think you look the same under your skin, but that's whoever told you that lied. Because your bones have more calcium, magnesium in it. Your blood has more vibrations in it because of the melanin. Your nerves have more melanin. Under the skin, we're all different. You see. So in any case, all of this is going on. The vagina and all that's making this kind of symphony and putting the male and female in harmony with these contractions of the muscle. And we get these 12 melanin centers on the brain stem, because the saying comes from Afrika, as above is below, as on heaven is on earth, that kind of thing. So we have these centers starting to vibrate, and they cascade the vibration down to vagina. You see, it's a highway that starts illuminating here, where the sexual intercourse becomes spiritual and mental, and it communicates directly to the third eye. The third eye makes a circle, and the circle is unbroken. You follow me? So what we're doing here is just duplicating what is already there. Say, all right, the vagina is making a magnet. See, the alkaline vagina will produce a girl. An acid vagina will produce a boy. And a lady that's calm and spiritual and meditates, she'll have an alkaline vagina and more likely to produce more girls. But if the vagina is acid, it will produce boys. That's why alcoholics have more girls than boys. It's a thing that happens to the chemistry as well. I'm just trying to say, there are markers aside from what I'm saying. You can actually look at this. You can look at the process and say, wait a minute, the chemistry changed. When the chemistry changed, the frequency changed. When the frequency changed, the color changed. When the color changed, the magnetic force changed, and you get all this change going on. It's like a dance, a symphonic dance of some sort. So all of this is happening. Then the aura around what you call the nipple, there's a darkness around there. When you get into understanding it, the nipple itself, that's melanin, that dark stuff around the nipple. And the melanin tunes the milk on the right frequency for the child. You see, that's why the color's around. It's not around it because it's to make the nipple look attractive. All of this is part of what African people knew when they were 12 years old, what we call the rites of passage. Every African boy and girl knew everything I'm saying when they were 12 years old. In fact, if a PhD is basically a 12-year-old's education in Africa. What PhD has here in America, that's what every 12-year-old child knew in Africa before slavery. So we're really behind here in our understanding. We're more than 450 years behind. So we use these magnets and we use these crystals because crystals are nothing but another form of energy. And if you have energy, it's going to vibrate. It's going to produce a color. And we use the crystals to help harmonize and bring out that positive energy in the uterus and in the vagina to express a healing. That's why we use these different energy forms. They're not foreign to the body. They come from the body. Everything comes from the body. The gyroscope comes from the body. When you use calculus, calculus is based on the body. How you calculate frequencies, ratios of energy. When you go into African science, you see where calculus is just another expression of the body. Geometry is just how these different shapes in the body go together. That's what geometry is, the study of the body. But we think it's something abstract because we study it from the Europeans.
So that's the way it's taught.
No, that's the study of the body. Geometry is, and so is calculus. And that's how, in the African sense, that's how I teach it. And once you can cheat taking one of my tests because you got, that's how those angles go together. that's you see, very easily.
Let's, for the remaining time, talk a little bit about the other side of the uterus, or I should say, in the male, what becomes the prostate.
Yeah,
and how that develops in terms of the disease in the male.
Well, you're looking at the synthetic deodorants and the synthetic antihistamines, cough suppressant, all that suppressing the waste in the uterus. And in the female uterus and in the male uterus, which we call the prostate today, which used to be called the male uterus back in the 13th or 14th century, so people know what we're dealing with. So we're looking at alcohol, which dehydrates. I mean, if you put it on your skin, it dries up your skin. And it does the same thing when you drink it. It dehydrates the prostate. So does vinegar. And a lot of brothers are addicted to vinegar. And they put this hot sauce or whatever they add to the vinegar. Because what is happening is that you get addicted to the chemicals you take, but you also get addicted to the chemicals your body makes. And your body makes this vinegar at a higher rate when you eat junk food. So you're addicted to the chemicals you're making inside your body, and you're addicted to the chemicals you're taking inside of your body. So they know what they're doing. Absolutely. So when a person, like a brother that eats a lot of sweets, that's dehydrating. So it's going to pull fluid out of his prostate. Now, if you addicted to sugar, like 90% of the black people are, I mean, we in Africa, it'd be different because you could eat some mangoes, papayas, and whatever. But people are addicted to this white sugar. And sugar is associated with love and affection. So you find a brother and sister into the sugar because they're not able to give love and receive love. Even though they say they're in love, they haven't went through a rite of passage or been taught how to give love or receive love because they got this anger blocking them, bad day at work or stress or hypertension. So they're not able to give love and receive love. So they use sugar. And sugar's emotional side of that is it disorder with love. Then if they're angry, they're going to have salt. So they're not only addicted to sugar, they're addicted to salt. They can't love each other and they're angry about it. So they're using salt. So all this is playing into the whole ramification of the deterioration of the prostate, because the prostate is on a cycle as well, just as the uterus is on a cycle. The uterus is on a solar cycle, which is a 3-year cycle, and the ovaries is on a lunar cycle. The ovaries put out an egg once a month. That's a lunar cycle, but the uterus itself is on a solar cycle, which is a 3-year cycle, which would be natural if a lady had one child. She's going to breastfeed the child for 3 to 5 years. That's why the uterus is on a 3-year cycle. That's a baby space, as we call it. So that's being violated. And the man is violating it because if he had one wife, if she's pregnant, he isn't going to have sex the whole year, because you don't have sex with a woman when she's pregnant. Then if she breastfeeds, that adds 3 years to that. So that's 4 years he's going without sex if he has one wife. So he wouldn't be straining and over-sexing himself, you see. But with the advent of the so-called birth control pill, which causes uterine fibroids, which causes bleeding, which causes cancer, and all of this causes us to violate our natural order and harmony that we're supposed to have with nature. So we have a disease of rheumaticity as well.
So how does he deal with that in terms of remedying that?
Well, what we basically use for that is saw palmetto, S-A-W. The next word is P-A-L-M-E-T-T-O, saw palmetto. It's a berry from the palmetto tree, which looks like a palm tree. That will take any brother that is in America and all over where I go, I tell them take that every day. Saw palmetto. Sometimes it's sold with a herb from Africa called pygeum, P-Y-G-E-U-M. So he would take saw palmetto and pygeum, or just saw palmetto every day. Take at least 4 tablets every day, you see. And some ladies are trying to control their hormone level. They have to take it too, you see. It's good for the fallopian tubes to help strengthen and cleanse them. So a lady would take saw palmetto as well. It's not just one sex, but I would tell the brother to do that. Take that. And the sister keep the tone and the cleanliness in the uterus. I would tell her to take red raspberry anyway. Those were just something you have to be on because we are under attack from the commercial industry, you know, McDonald's and the dairy industry and all these people, aside from the radiation from computers, which causes cysts and tumors and cancer. Just the radiation from the computers alone causes that, because we're getting disease from computers now, from radiation. Radiation will kill you dead as a doornail.
You spoke to that a little bit in terms of the way the food is what we call food, I suppose, is actually being prepared to be given out to people to, you know, consume. It's becoming an issue more and more when you hear about it. But again, I don't think a lot of people is quite clear on what it is that, you know, we're talking about when you talk about irradiated food. Can you talk a little bit about how that, what that actually is and how it actually affects you once you ingest foods that come to you from that?
Well, the radiation doesn't stop. The radiation is in the food, and you take the food, now you're radiating yourself. You're nuking yourself. And that's going to cause some genetic alterations. Basically make you more easily to control. People are addicted to clone food now. Aside from junk food addiction, we have clone addiction, where people are actually addicted to the clones. When the soil doesn't have enough nutrients in it, and you grow plants in it, they don't give you the kind of stimulation, energy out of it. Your grandmother probably could tell you that these tomatoes in the store don't taste like no tomatoes, because, you know, she could tell, but a lot of new people can't tell. But I'm just saying this food doesn't have the energy in it and doesn't have the taste in it. But if you clone it, then you're going to get a false stimulation from the animal in the plant. So the people are now addicted to clone food and addicted to junk food and addicted to radiation, sex hormones, and the color of the food, the sexual shape of the food. So it's a multiple addiction we're dealing with right here. But the radiation itself causes genetic change, as we call it. It can't change you genetically, but it can make you more aberrant, make your behavior less socially acceptable, which puts you into a profit market of the Europeans. Because anytime you have a dysfunctionality, you're making profit for the Europeans. So that the objective of it is to make you dysfunctional in some way, either with fibroids or hyperactivity or something like that, to keep you dysfunctional in some aspect. Some people get dysfunctional, they take it out with their money, so they spend too much. So they make an offer, and that causes a problem in their relationship. When the relationship breaks up, you have a divorce, and again, your dysfunctionality is profit for the Europeans. The objective is to keep you dysfunctional. So they keep you addicted to these clones and radiation. And most people know people that are addicted to radiation anyway. Some people be asleep, the TV be on, and you turn the TV off, they'll wake up. It's because you turned off their high, which they get from their television. They're addicted to the radiation. We noticed it, but we didn't connect the right thing. That's radiation addiction. And each food had its own radiation band to addict you to it. And the industry that makes it do the similar kind of bands on all their products. So once you eat the candy bar, you can want the detergent. You don't know why. Because it's a vicious industry. Like the stuff they're doing with the spray in New York with this formaldehyde in it causes birth defects and the other chemical that causes cancer. And they're spraying it the most by rivers. There's such a river called the Harlem River, right? Black folks, right? You know, all this is very detrimental to black people because of the melanin, and the melanin bonds the impurities at a higher rate because it's trying to get rid of them. So we call melanin a free radical scavenger. It goes after these chemicals like cocaine, nicotine, white sugar, and grabs it like that in hopes to get rid of it. But if you keep eating the junk food, it keeps it in. Sure. And we have a high melanin content of our uterus and of our prostrate more than white people. So we're going to pull more impurities in our uterus and prostrate, which we call static electromagnetic radiation charge. That's that, like a lady gets static in her dress and it clings to it. We get a static charge in our uterus and prostrate. So when we walk by a computer, we absorb more toxins because of the static electromagnetic charge. So we best get a magnet or a diode, D-I-O-D-E, to neutralize the radiation because it's more harmful to us than white people.
So you're saying then, in terms of just what you mentioned, in your home, you want to particularly then in the bedroom, you want to eliminate all of any electrical.
Need to unplug that stuff. Unplug the TV, unplug the VCR, unplug the electric clock, unplug all that stuff, because it's going to get in the metal of the bed, and it's going to radiate you all night. It's just another way of getting you sick. But if you don't do that, in lieu of that, just get a diode, D-I-O-D-E. It costs about $7. Put it in your pocket and you're fine. It's not a problem to be healthy. You have to work at being sick. You have to really work at being stupid. You have to ignore everything that you hear that's truthful. You have to work at being stupid. Being stupid don't come easy.
Now, in terms of the vibration of dead food, we're living entities. We have a different vibration.
Right.
How does that also contribute to that the process of creating disease in the mind?
Oh, my brother. If you're eating something dead, it's going to make you dead. It doesn't take a little...
But I'm saying people don't make that connection. You know, it's like, it tastes good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's usually the response.
Yeah, they're emotional eaters. That's typical of someone who has an eating addiction, which is a mental illness. They're absolutely crazy. I mean, that's what the industry, the snack food industry, is developed to keep you addicted. They don't say addiction industry, they call it snack food industry. The people are made addicted to the food. And I can understand the addict saying that about, you know, it tastes good. It's like talking to an alcoholic or anybody else addicted. But if you chew the food, the objective of junk food is to get you just to use the taste buds on your tongue. But if you chew it and fire off the taste buds under your tongue, especially if you fire off the parotid taste gland, you're going to taste all flavors in the food. They don't want you to chew your food. They want you to take a couple big hunks out of it and swallow it down. But if you chew it and fire off the parotid taste glands, you're going to taste all flavors and you won't even like it anyway, you see. But if you're eating food that is, like, you can light a bulb on a basket of fresh apples. But if you cook those apples, you cannot light the bulb. It doesn't have any life in it. If you want to be alive, you have to eat live food. If you eat dead food, it's going to shorten your life. And bleach white flour is dead. How you find out what's dead and what's alive is if you take a food, you plant it in the ground and it can grow, it's alive. Therefore, you can eat it. If you get an apple, put it in the ground, it will produce an apple tree. You see what I'm saying? But if you put some apple pie in the ground and cover it up, and after a day or later on that day, it will have worms and parasites in it. You see, even the meat and the milk is going to have worms, and fish has the worst parasites in it. They have worms and fish that will kill you dead as a doornail. You best get some wormwood. That's very popular. I like to say that because people can remember that. Okay, worms. Get some wormwood. Because if you're eating dead things, you got to have worms. If you're taking dairy, you got some worms. If you eat meat, you got some worms. You might as well go fishing. All the worms you're going to have in your body, and that's going to cause you to eat more food. The objective is for you to keep worms because Europeans' digestive tract functions on 10 to 20% worms anyway. We're going into their anatomy, and now the anatomical structure is totally different. You see, we have a different bacterial flora. We have different plants and animals, which you call microbes, in our digestive system that are different from Japanese, Chinese, and Europeans. And if you're eating like them, then you can produce the same amount of parasites they have in their system, and they need those worms in order for their digestive system to work. They're Europeans. So we got to look at this whole thing. We got to get a hold of our eating addiction. And first thing to get a hold of is that white sugar. Get some vanadilyl sulfate. Some people call it vanadium, and that will get a person off insulin in 3 months. It's never taken me more than 3 months to get a person off insulin injections using vanadilyl sulfate. Some people call it vanadium. We got to knock out that sugar craving. Got to knock that out. Because
what are some references? We're coming out today, and I just want to get some references from you in terms of where people, outside of your books, of course. Are there any other references that you recommend that people would go to gain more information on it?
Well, they have these little pamphlets in the health food store, and I wouldn't invest a lot of money in this issue here because they have little pamphlets that come with these products, and you can always get a pamphlet and look at it. But when you go in those stores, it's going to really soak you. I mean, really. But they have little pamphlets that all the health food store put out, newsletters and things like that. And of course, I got about 70 audios on all these subjects I mentioned, which people can access, no problem. Information is there, and information, especially African-centered information, will give you power. If it's European information, more than likely you're just creating Uncle Tom or some certified Negro or something. You want African-centered information, which comes under ethnomedicine, which will give you the diet that you need to fuel your African self.
How would someone get in contact with you? Wanted to, speak with you about either dealing with some of the things that you discussed?
They can call me at 843-522-8545 or email me at healafrica@hargrade.com. I'm accessible.
Okay. Again, this is Yero Bandeli. We've been talking with Dr. Laila Afrika, and we've been discussing, we started out dealing with the question of uterine fibroids and its development and proliferation in Black women. And I think we've covered to some degree the general development of how disease itself is onset in the body. We hope to have him back to talk about some other areas. And as usual, we hope that you found the information that we presented to you useful.
Taxes was waiting. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes in a day, so you can get up to $4,000 instantly. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Turbo.